Hello and welcome to my channel, I Gaming. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at everyone's favorite homunculus. I mean, Chief Alchemist, Albedo. Albedo, the Chief Alchemist, a captain in the Knights of Favonius, and also the Prinz, is a man of many mysteries. And fun fact, Albedo is one of the 2 5-star characters that is still at Constellation 0 on my account. And even though he's at Constellation 0, I still occasionally use him. Anyway, I'll be going over 20 things to consider for Albedo's rerun. But really quick, it's time to pay some bills, and today's sponsor is NordVPN. You're not using protection while browsing the internet. Every website you visit will know your IP address, and thus, you'll be bombarded by personalized ads for your region like delicious local boba. Well, NordVPN is here to protect your waistline from the evil local boba. Not only that, but region block content on Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, and so many other services can be bypassed with the use of NordVPN. I use NordVPN regularly to play Phantasy Star Online 2 on the JP servers because they block people outside of Japan. Anyway, you can't put a price on privacy, but NordVPN has done it, and it's only $3.16 per month during this colossal Cyber Month deal. Just go to nordvpn.com/IWinToLoseGaming for that massive 73% discount. On top of that, you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose? Just smash that link in the description below or use the coupon code IWinToLoseGaming at checkout. Huge thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So the first and most important thing to consider is that Albedo is getting huge buffs in patch 2.3, and I mean huge buffs. First, we have the new artifact set, the Husk of Opulent Dreams. And since the numbers are already released for that, this artifact set buffs his damage by 3 to 27% depending on the number of stacks. The next thing is the potential buff he may receive from the new 4-star event weapon, the Cinnabar Spindle. While the official numbers for this thing haven't been released, I have a feeling that it will further buff his damage. And if I had to guess, with the new artifact set and a new weapon for Albedo, we could be seeing up to a 50% increase to Albedo's Blossom damage from patch 2.2 to patch 2.3. And this doesn't even account for Goro, the 3rd buff, who will further increase Albedo's defense and geo damage. If I had to guess again, with the new artifacts, new weapon, and new doggo buffs, Albedo might be able to do twice the amount of damage on his blossoms. Again, we don't know the exact numbers yet, so this is all just pure speculation, but I'm expecting huge buffs to the degree of Albedo doing up to twice as much damage as he currently does with his transient blossoms. Now the first major drawback that's really important to note about Albedo is that he has split scaling. His transient blossom damage scales with defense, and his burst scales with attack. You need to choose which stat to focus on with your artifacts, and in particular, the timepiece. Do you want to use an attack percent timepiece for a bigger burst, or do you want to use a defense percent timepiece for bigger blossoms? Either way, there's a direct opportunity cost for Albedo's damage. Generally speaking, I personally prefer to focus on defense percent to amp up his transient blossom damage as much as possible. Albedo possesses some of the most unique mechanics in the game. He is the only character in the game to have an ability that deals damage entirely based off the defense stat. Another interesting mechanic is that his bursts damage snapshots from 2 different sources, the first being himself for the initial hit, and the second source being from his elemental skill. When you place his solar isotoma down, it snapshots his attack stat at that moment, and the fatal blossom damage is based on that. One more thing to note is that Albedo has a cool double blossom tech where you're able to do 2 of his blossoms in quick succession. Speaking of unique mechanics, we can't talk about Albedo without talking about his elevator. His elemental skill lifts you into the air. Sadly, there's very little practical application for this, but it is good for the memes. Perhaps someday there will be situations where this thing is super useful, but as of right now, it's nothing more than an occasional chuckle. So Albedo is a character that I would consider to be one of the most free-to-play friendly characters in the game. All his constellations are pretty bad, and as such, you're not missing out on much at Constellation 0 versus Constellation 6. The next thing that makes him free-to-play friendly are his weapon options. As of patch 2.2, The Harbinger of Dawn and the Festering Desire are both very free-to-play friendly weapons. However, please wait until patch 2.3 before building a weapon for him, because the event weapon, the Cinnabar Spindle, might be his new best in slot option. And we don't know for sure until it's released, so this is purely speculation, but I would wait until patch 2.3 before building a weapon for him. This next point may seem a bit contradictory to the previous point, but Albedo will actually need a lot of Primo Gems during patch 2.3 to hit his max free-to-play potential. First of all, if you don't have Albedo, you'll need to get Albedo. Second, Goro will be the best buffer for Albedo's Blossom damage, and Goro will unfortunately be on Arataki Ito's banner, not Albedo's. What this means is that you have to pull for Albedo and then pull for Goro. On top of that, Albedo's most meta team is likely going to be Arataki Ito, Goro, Albedo, and Zhongli. This is two 5-star characters from the same patch, which is very costly in terms of Primo Gems. Now, fortunately, you can always use Noelle as a substitute for Ito as the main DPS for this team, but Noelle is likely going to do significantly less damage than Arataki Ito. Okay, so Albedo is a bit cheaper to build than some other characters. He's expensive in the sense that you really want to level him to level 90 in comparison to attack-based characters who only gain a little bit of damage from going from 80 to 90. Albedo gains around 20% additional damage, going from 80 out of 80 to 90 out of 90, assuming the Cinnabar Spindle is a good weapon for him. During the event, the weapon is likely going to be cheaper to enhance, saving you some additional resources. So as of patch 2.2, Albedo is not really considered best in slot for any team. I'd say his most meta team as of patch 2.2 is Hu Tao, Xingqiu, Albedo, and Zhongli. Keep in mind that this team is not considered to be Hu Tao's best team. Anyway, 2.3 is going to change things around a lot, but Albedo is just a very low impact character as of right now. As of today, in patch 2.2, Albedo can do around 14,000 damage blossoms. Let's say hypothetically, Albedo's blossoms did 50% more damage or 21,000 damage. Would you use them? Honestly, probably not. But what if they did twice as much damage, like around 28,000 damage? Well, maybe I'll consider it. If even doubling Albedo's damage still raises the question of whether or not you should use him, then perhaps Albedo is a bit underwhelming. Overall, Albedo is a low impact character where even doubling his damage won't necessarily put him at the same level as the top tier characters in this game. Despite not being the best in slot character for any team in patch 2.2, except for the Hu Tao Xingqiu Double Geo team, Albedo is still a very flexible character and can be slotted almost anywhere. Paired with Zhongli, the two of them can essentially carry pretty much anyone, even a DPS Qixi or Kokomi for example. While not the best in slot for anything, his flexibility is valuable if that's something you value in a character. Albedo is also able to provide your team with a variety of buffs. His flexibility allows him to provide the Tenacity, Archaic Petra, Noblesse Oblige, or Instructor's artifact buffs. His burst provides 125 elemental mastery to the entire team, and he can also use the Freedom Sworn at the cost of his own damage to provide the Freedom Sworn buff. While certainly not at the same level of other buffers like Bennett, Sucrose, or Kazuha, Albedo as a buffer cannot be completely overlooked. Next, let's talk about Geo-Construct problems. Albedo's Solar Isotoma is a Geo-Construct, and if you've been using Geo characters, you know how annoying they can be to use. Boss-type enemies instantly delete Geo structures if they step on them, and Geo structures get in the way of each other. On top of that, you can only have 3 elemental skill-based Geo structures on the field. All in all, Geo constructs are often unreliable due to all these problems. Fortunately for Albedo though, his elemental skill does have a very low 4-second cooldown, so you're able to reapply it often. Geo problems. This may seem like the same as the previous point, but it's not. One problem with Geo as an element is that unlike the 4 main elements, Cryo, Pyro, Electro, and Hydro, Geo cannot be buffed by the most broken artifact set in the game, the Viridescent Veneer, which provides a massive, comical 40% resistance shred. However, Geo Resonance is incredible and provides 20% Geo resistance shred. In the end though, this is still 20% less resistance shred for Geo as an element, which is an overall disadvantage. And finally, unlike Cryo, Pyro, and Hydro, Geo has no elemental reactions that are multiplicative for its damage. Albedo has a fun hipster AFK playstyle. Albedo, being a character that provides mostly off-field damage, allows for some really satisfying AFK builds, where you rely mostly on passive damage to take out your opponents. By comboing Albedo with Zhongli and let's say Geo Traveler, you're able to output a ton of passive Geo damage with Albedo's Transient Blossoms as well as Zhongli's Pillars Resonances. All in all, this is a very satisfying and fun way to play Genshin Impact. New artifacts. Yep, that's right, Albedo is going to want the brand new 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams artifact set, and that means farming new artifacts. This problem becomes amplified if you use Albedo in conjunction with Itto or Noelle, because you'll really want 2 good sets of these, one for Itto or Noelle, and one for Albedo, especially since you'll probably use them on the same team. This also means you'll get a bunch of the healing artifact set which has questionable usage. Now if you enjoy farming new artifacts, well, I guess this isn't a big problem. But in terms of resin efficiency, outside of powering up your Albedo, Noelle, Itto, and Kokomi, new artifact dungeon may not be the best use of your resin. The last point that's important is that Albedo has almost no representation in endgame speedrunning as of patch 2.2. Now 2.3 may change this a bit depending on how good Arataki Itto is, but as of patch 2.2, Albedo is nowhere to be seen for speedrunning. The reason for this is simple. Speedrunning is all about instantly killing the enemies. Albedo simply doesn't provide that level of burst damage that all the top tier DPS characters can offer. So allow me to wrap up this video like I usually do with a summary of all the points that I've made. Let's start off with Albedo's pros. Albedo is getting triple buffed. New artifact set, new weapon, and Goro. Thanks to the triple buffs that Albedo is getting, he might end up doing 50 to 100% more damage in patch 2.3. Next, Albedo has many unique mechanics, and Albedo is free to play friendly. Albedo is a bit cheaper to build than attack percent carries. Albedo is super flexible, being slottable in pretty much any team. Albedo might be meta in patch 2.3 with Arataki Itto, but that's hard to say right now. Albedo is a decent buffer with the Freedom Soren Sword. Albedo is great for a very fun AFK playstyle. And finally, Geo Resonance is very strong. And now for Albedo's cons. Albedo suffers from split scaling. Albedo's elevator is basically a meme. Too many Primogems will be needed for both Albedo and Goro, or even Itto and Albedo. Albedo is currently not meta in 2.2. Geo constructs have a lot of problems. Albedo is a rather low impact character, where even doubling his damage may not necessarily improve his usage. Albedo is very replaceable in all his current teams. The new artifacts aren't resin efficient because of the healing set, unless I guess you are farming for Kokomi as well. And finally, you'll want multiple sets of the Husk artifacts if you use Albedo with Itto or Noelle. Geo as an element has some issues when it comes to damage amplification. So there you go, 20 things to consider for the upcoming Albedo rerun. What do you think about Albedo's prospects in patch 2.3? Are his buffs enough for you to consider pulling for him? And again, huge thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out in the link down in the description below. Also, I regularly make Genshin Impact videos ranging from Caesar showcases, DPS showdowns, guide videos, and more. So be sure to smash the subscribe button as it's the best and easiest way for you to support my work. Also, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.